After 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, August 16th, coming on this morning with the latest on Hurricane Ernesto, which is currently centered a little more than 200 miles to the south-southwest of Bermuda. You can see it moving quickly off to the north-northeast at about 14 miles per hour. Already big clouds and rain bands are getting ready to spread onto the island of Bermuda as Ernesto moves to the north-northeast, well off the east coast of the United States. Right now, the data from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft suggests that Ernesto's peak winds are around 100 miles per hour. But in addition to that, Ernesto is a very large hurricane. The tropical storm force winds extend out almost 280 miles away from the center. So even though the center is more than 200 miles away from Bermuda, those tropical storm force winds are going to begin on the island within just the next few hours. So preparations there should be rushed to completion here, and everybody on Bermuda is going to want to be in a safe place by this afternoon through tonight into Saturday, as Ernesto is going to bring a prolonged period of dangerous winds, a very heavy rainfall, the potential for flash flooding and storm surge and coastal flooding to the island. So as I mentioned, we have a hurricane warning in effect for Bermuda now. That means we are expecting hurricane conditions on the island, and Ernesto's forward speed is going to slow down from here. It's moving now at about 14 miles per hour. That forward speed is going to drop down to about 10 miles per hour over the next 24 to 36 hours as the storm passes near or over the island of Bermuda. That's going to, again, prolong the duration of those tropical storm and eventually those hurricane force winds, which are likely on the island tomorrow. The heavy rainfall, we're expecting 6 to 12-inch totals on Bermuda. We could see amounts as high as 15 inches, producing considerable flash flooding there. And again, dangerous storm surge and coastal flooding along the shoreline of the island that could create very dangerous conditions, in addition to the dangerous breaking waves on top of that storm surge. And again, those conditions are going to get worse through the day today, continue into tonight, and continue through much of Saturday. As we can see, the center of Ernesto is forecast to be starting to pull away from Bermuda as we go from Saturday into Sunday. And then if we look longer term, the center of Ernesto is going to pass near or over portions of Newfoundland Monday, and then accelerate out into the North Atlantic as it loses its tropical characteristics. So in addition to the impacts on Bermuda, I want to talk about the impacts along the U.S. East Coast. We've been talking about this for several days now, but there's a high risk of dangerous surf and rip current conditions along much of the southeast coast of the United States, everywhere you see in red here. So this includes the North Carolina coast, South Carolina coast, Georgia coast, all the way down through much of the east coast of Florida. In the red areas here, these are areas where you probably don't want to go into the ocean today. Again, pay attention to those flags that are flying. They're going to indicate that high risk of rip currents. Pay attention to any advice you're given by lifeguards. Even farther south in Florida, in these yellow areas, we have a moderate risk of rip currents, and that moderate risk is in effect for places along the Virginia coastline up into the eastern shore of Maryland, the Jersey Shore, and then there's a high risk of rip currents in Long Island as well. And if we flip ahead to Saturday, you basically see that high risk of rip currents expand all the way up from Florida through the mid-Atlantic coast, even up into portions of New England. So again, it's going to be pretty kind of nice weather along portions of the East Coast this weekend. People are going to want to go to the beach, but anywhere you see in red here, you're not going to want to go into the ocean. It's going to be dangerous. And just a reminder that distant hurricanes can be deadly, and you don't want to go into the ocean if it's not safe. And if you get caught in a rip current, you want to let it carry you out and swim parallel to the shore until the rip current releases you, and then you can be brought back in with the waves. But again, please only go in the water where you do if there's a lifeguard present, and if there are warning flags, please stay out of the water and don't go in the ocean if it does not appear safe. So let's just wrap up the key points here and the key messages for Hurricane Ernesto on this Friday morning. Ernesto is expected to bring a prolonged period of dangerous weather, strong winds and storm surge to Bermuda starting this afternoon, continuing through tonight, through Saturday into Saturday night. Hurricane warning is in effect, and everybody should have their preparations complete within just the next few hours. Heavy rainfall associated with Ernesto is expected to impact Bermuda through the weekend, resulting in considerable life-threatening flash flooding, with, again, up to 15 inches of rain possible. And again, we want to hit that rip current threat along almost the entire U.S. East Coast. That's only going to expand in time and severity as we go through the weekend. So please come back here to Hurricanes.gov for more information on Ernesto through the weekend. For folks along the U.S. East Coast, you can get information about local beach hazards and current conditions in your area from your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. We'll be back with more updates on Ernesto. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Brennan at the National Hurricane Center.